Welcome to Discovering. It's not too late to spruce up your garden. I stopped in at 7 Acre Gardens for some handy tips.
Place 2 matchsticks into the soil on either side of the plant root.
Kristen spent some time on the water for the Portage Torch Lake Walleye Tournament.
Look at that walleye.
And I was on the water to catch the tail end of bluegill fishing.
That's a little pig.
Stick around, that's all tonight right here on Discovering.
The secret streams that flow beneath the cliffs of colored stone. Forest thick and healthy with birch and pine and oak. Surrounded by the greatest lakes this world has ever known. The black bear's awesome presence as he roams the hills and fields. Call of the timber wolf, the loon's lonesome trill. The eagle soaring high above, the trout lies deep and still. These are what I treasure, the only way I measure feelings that I have for this fine land. There is so much to discover when you're a long-time lover of northern Michigan.
Seven Acre Garden and Gifts is located just off US 2 in Hyde. After passing by a few times on recent filming adventures, along with my wife's request to spruce up the flower boxes before the upcoming weekend party on the deck, I decided to stop in to find out if it was too late to plant. My simple stop provided me with much more than a couple of petunias and a marigold.
A lot of people think that it's too late to plant after that first couple weeks in June, and it's really not the case. You can add flowers and perennials and trees on your site throughout the growing season, which is all summer long into the fall.
With a thumb not much more than a light shade of green, I tend to ask a lot of questions. As Dan and Teresa answered every not-so-garden-smart question I had, I concluded it was my duty to dig out the camera and pass along these noteworthy tips for the betterment of gardeners everywhere.
This is an Indigo Rose heirloom tomato. It's looking really good. Having this matting down helps keep the weed population out, of course, and it makes it a lot easier on you. You're not out here weeding all the time, and the weeds aren't stealing the nutrients from the tomato plant. It helps keep the ground warm, and it helps retain some water. When you water the plant, it's not getting as much evaporation because the wind's not directly on the soil. Tomatoes are heavy feeders. They need to have fertilizer to be productive. Potassium, nitrogen, phosphate are the 3 biggest feeders, but for tomatoes and peppers, they really need to have a secondary fertilization method. Epsom salt is a great fertilizer for tomatoes and peppers. Epsom salt is basically hydrated magnesium sulfate. The magnesium is a form of calcium, which helps the plants through blight and keeps the foliage green. The sulfite portion of it boosts chloroform production and helps with larger fruit, higher yield. It's really something that you should do with your tomatoes every couple weeks. It's a real simple solution. It's a tablespoon of Epsom salt per gallon of water. You mix it in a watering can, water around the outside perimeter of your tomato plant. Try to keep it off the foliage because it will burn the leaves. You can also add Epsom salt to your plant when you're planting it. Put a tablespoon of Epsom salt in the hole, put a light coat of topsoil or your potting soil over the top of the Epsom salt, and then plant the tomato on top of it, and that'll feed the roots without you having to apply it throughout the summer. For pepper plants, an additional application of sulfur, which can be easily done with just a matchstick. Place 2 matchsticks head first into the soil on either side of the plant root. I'd say about 3 or 4 inches away from the base of the plant. The sulfur off of that matchstick will help fertilize that plant throughout the summer. You only have to do it one time. And even if you didn't do it when you plant it, you can apply that matchsticks at any time.
I tend to plant things that I can eat. But I don't think tomatoes are what Patty had in mind when she told me to spruce up the deck. We'll get back to the edible stuff in a minute. I need color, and that means flowers.
And lots of people ask about petunias. These two tables here are all the mounding petunias, which means they will stay pretty much like to the location where you place them. And there's all different kinds. There's a wave, easy wave, shock wave, tidal waves. These are the ones you want if you really want them to cascade down for you. That's what the big hanging baskets are made of. And some people even use these for hedges. Not everything has to have flowers. These are beautifully decorative in a garden, and there's a huge variety of the coleus, and these also are deer resistant. They're growing from seed, which makes them extremely hardy for our area. They're going to get much bigger than they are. You can make your own baskets. You can make your own choice, your own styles. We went into greenhouses and we've liked this basket but not these flowers, or these flowers not that basket. So you can pick out your own type of basket. Just about every basket you see here we have in stock. Just purchase your basket with the dirt and pick out your own flowers, plant it yourself, your style, your taste. We have lots of deer resistant stuff. Nasturtium, the phlox. Geraniums can actually be deer resistant. The celoseus, deer resistant. Gazanias are deer resistant. Everybody seems to know marigolds are quite deer resistant. I think if you smell them, you'll know why. Nicotiana. This is actually a nicotine plant. And Alyssium, deer resistant. A lot more than you would think that is deer resistant. And you still get a lot of color in Shazam. It doesn't mean that the deer will not eat them, and they just prefer not to eat them. But like at the end of the season and that, if there's nothing else, they will.
Now to add in something both decorative and functional.
Yeah, we grow a lot of things here from seed. One of them's herbs. We have several different varieties. Parsley. Italian parsley is a sweeter variety of parsley than the curly parsley. It tends to cleanse your palate more. We also grow cilantro. Cilantro, you're going to want to cut the tops off as you need it as well. If you don't continue to harvest it, you'll see as some of this is getting larger, it's starting to seed right now. You'd want to take that seed off, clip the tops off to keep it trimmed. The leaves is what you want to have. Once you get it out of these small nursery containers, they'll get bushier. Like this is a good example of a bushier cilantro, where this may have been in the container a little bit longer. It was transplanted earlier. This is starting to get a little more leggy. This is a better example of a good cilantro. Rosemary, garlic chives, oregano. Oregano is a very vigorant herb. It grows like mad. It'll take over a flower container and produce all summer long. As you want to harvest oregano, you just take the entire stem off. Easiest thing to do is you can just take it from the top and just strip it. Strip the leaves back. You don't really want to use the stem. The stem's woody. You're just going to want to take the leaves off the stem. Dill, we got a mint variety that we do, and then we have basil as well. To harvest basil, the best example would be to take the top off and just take off as much as you need in that sitting. I'd cut the stem down to the first node, and I'd clip it about 1/4 inch off from that stem. The plant's still going to vigor, and it's going to produce new shoots off of either side of that node and continue to grow up. If you don't, it's going to seed out and it's going to turn into a spindly plant. If you want it to stay broad-leafed and bushy and produce larger leaves, you're going to want to take the top off and just keep taking it down, and it will continue to grow up. If you pick the lower leaves off, you're going to end up with a really long spindly plant, and the top's just going to go to seed. You're not going to have a full plant anymore. One thing that we've found out on basil that can be a natural remedy for insect stings. After you've been stung by, say, a mosquito, tear the basil leaf off, squeeze it on your skin. It'll take the itch away and the burning sensation away with the oils from the basil. Of course, everybody loves herbs to cook with. Fresh herbs always taste really good in your food at home. One of the great things about herbs too is you can do a container garden, or you can do it out in your large garden. Some of the herbs will come back every year as a perennial. Dill's one of them. Dill will come back every year. Mint will come back. Oregano will come back. You got to watch for some of that though, because I almost want to take over your garden. Keep it trimmed down, or else you can do a container garden. Container gardens are really easy. You don't have to do as much weeding. You can have it right out on your deck or your porch, or even in a kitchen windowsill in a small container. For herbs and vegetables, you know, at the end of the season, some of them still look really great and you hate to let them spoil over the winter. You can bring them in, you can put them in a sunroom or in a sunny location on a windowsill or bay window and continue to grow them through the winter. As you're watering them in a container, it's diluting the nutrients and washing the nutrients away from the soil. So as long as you continue with some sort of fertilizer, depending upon the plant type, of course, and you're feeding that plant, you very well could have a plant that'll make it all winter and it could bear some fruit. And same with herbs. Herbs can continue to grow throughout the dormant seasons in the house as long as you're feeding them correctly. So on our site here, we grow everything from seed. All of our annual plants are seeded here on site. They're cold grown. I think that the greatest attribute to starting things from seed is they're cold grown and they're accustomed to the temperature that they're raised in right from day one. Of course, everybody knows that our weather conditions can change drastically from one day to the next. It's not uncommon to have a 30 or 40 degree temperature swing. A cold grown plant that's adjusted to that climate from the day it was raised or propagated to a mature plant is going to give you a longer lasting, hardier plant. It's going to give you a plant that's going to be at its peak for a longer period of time, and it's going to last longer throughout our colder seasons that we have here.
Earlier this month, I jumped on board with Hook and Hoover Guide Service in the Keweenaw, but today they're not guiding. They're fishing the Portage Torch Lake Walleye Tournament, a friendly competition amongst the local anglers and anyone else that wanted to join in.
Come on, Hope, we're going.
It's mostly just for pure competition, friends to get together. We love to fish together. We all know each other very well. And the rules are basically that we have 3 fish 23 inches or under, and then you can have 2 over 23, so obviously 23 to however that is. The reason we do that's kind of a slot limit we have in the lake.
On the boat are Captain Jim Lebeski, his wife Tammy, Captain Ron Racine Jr., and Brian's buddy Hoover, who actually runs the show here.
It's a little guy.
Little guy.
Little guy. Lindy little guy. Cross between a blade and a crankbait.
As soon as we got to where we wanted to go, we were marking fish right away. It didn't take long to hook a couple small walleyes, but too small to keep.
Well, it's a start. It's a start.
Hoover wasn't impressed.
The other day, they were hardly doing anything. Oh, really? He's got more weight. Here. I don't know if it's 15 or not. No pipe. Look at that board go. Ignore that. Get that other board. Get that coming. Don't you snap that wonder bread off. Big bullfrog? Good.
We had plenty of other action in the morning, but not the right species. So let's check back in with Hoover.
Wait. Better. Right off of the net too. 20 and a half.
This crew fished hard all day.
Feet. Look at that walleye.
Yay!
About time. May I tell you about that blade? What it takes.
Awesome.
Grind. Normally, that wouldn't be a big fish. Today, I think it's a big fish. Good job finding them, Tam. That's good weight, Blue. 23. Big pig. Big pig. That'll help.
Nice.
How big is it? 27.
Those brought our total to 3 to weigh in at the Dreamland dock.
The reason we came to Dreamland this year is because we fished Torch and Portage Lake. It's a pretty big system. To have a central spot to weigh is important because versus running fish almost 10 miles one way or the other is something that would tend to beat up the fish. We always try to let them go, catch and release. It was a tough bite. I mean, some of the best guys I know out here didn't get a fish. Some guys find them. It's always like that. So we just appreciate coming out and fishing. It's a great fishery. Kind of a weird year this year as far as the bite. You know, it's walleye fishing is it's tricky and it's just fun to try to figure it out, and someone always does. That's what I was telling the guys last time we were signing up. I said someone's going to figure it out, and someone did. You know, there's a lot of good anglers, and sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but it's always cool to hang out.
The winning team came in at a total weight of 20.5 pounds.
All right, so today we're traditional bluegill fishing, using a bobber with about 4 feet of lead line today, using worm. Right now we're on top of my hot spot, but they're not here yet. It's about 10 to 12 feet of water. Bluegills are currently bedding in the weeds right now as we speak, so we're going to try to pick them off as we go. Small bass to start the day. Fun to catch. Another bass. Catching bass on bobber. Beautiful fish. That's a nice one. Beautiful. That's some pretty color right there. Little guy. Well, they're getting ready to spawn. Right now they're making their beds. What they do is sit there and spin around in a circle, blow all the old dirt off the rocks right here. Right up ahead there's probably maybe 100 on there. I know people probably been picking them off for a while now, but the next fish will come on in and take advantage of a unkept lair. You know, here we are mid-June. I think compared to normal years, we're probably 3 weeks to a month ahead of schedule on their breeding patterns, water temperature, and everything else. There was no snow this year, the melt. We had a lot of warm weather early in the year. So everything's different this year. Everything's either delayed or much more advanced. The bass bite has been slow only because I think they came up a lot earlier than expected. It'll live to fight another day. Bluegills is hit and miss no matter when you are, but now they're going to shut off here once they start getting on the bed spawning. They'll shut off until probably September. You won't get much more of it after that. There we go. Crappies will start hitting in September on these same beds. They'll come in and use the same beds the bluegills are using. That's a nice gill. Okay, now we have a nice size gill. Beauty. Beautiful color. That's a little pig.